So we stand in front of Dollar Tree and basically,
such as this thing here.
All right, I'm excited to have a guest.
This metal right here is poisonous. Everyone is.
Cuba is like they're under a dictator.
RTD Live Talk, Detroit's #1 YouTube talk show. Excited to be back. Looking forward to connecting. Happy Monday to everyone. Hope everyone had a good day. And it's going to be an interesting week to say the least. But looks like another possible event is on the horizon. And it happens to deal with the supply chain and the possible disruption of the current rail freights being able to move throughout our country. And if a deal is not met by this Friday, then the rest of this month and the rest of this year could be very problematic. So we're going to talk about that as well as a couple other subjects. Hope everyone is doing well. As always, want to welcome any first-time viewers. Let me know where you're watching from. We'll love to welcome you to the community and also hear from you. Let me know where you're watching from via the chat. And then also when the phone lines open up, we'll love to hear from you directly. 313-462-0027 is the number you can call. Oh, man. What an interesting day. But on the good side of things, we're expecting some CPI figures. Apparently, projections are it's going to be 8.1. And I think the most exciting was to see some green in the metal space. And it looks like silver did a 6% bid today, which, of course, is better than nothing. But it's always better to see green than red. But still premature. Don't get your hopes up too soon. And on top of that, I see, of course, the EU energy crisis is another topic. We got lots of things to touch on. So anyway, let me check in real quick, acknowledge a couple people, and then we'll jump right into some articles. If you have not already, hit that thumbs up button, show your support for the channel. Hopefully the algorithms notify a few more people so everybody can be plugged in. All right, we got Ed checking in. We got New Church of Philadelphia with Dubs. Said what's happening. Appreciate you, man. We got Miss Love checking in. Spare Me a Dime checking in. LBP is in the building. We got Paul from Eugene. Dwayne Clark. We got Jay. All right. What's he got? Johnny Boy Silver. Appreciate you, man. Okay, so man. It just seems there's just one thing after the next. It's never a dull moment in the alternative media space because there's so much to cover. But yet one thing is very obvious is that someone behind the scenes is still looking to cause some chaos and pandemonium with the probability of there being empty shelves if this union deal is not made, which, of course, it just seems like it's very timely that it will not, to say the least. But let me just share with you the top story of the hour, and then I'll do a little maintenance on my side. Want to make sure I give people time to jump in. And I'll go from there. But let me just put this on the screen here. We'll just go through this real quick. Then I'll do a little maintenance on my side. But I appreciate the community members that sent me this article here. Apparently, a lot of people are covering this right now. So definitely want to share my 2 cents on it. But it says, pressure mounts on the U.S. railroads. Unions to reach a deal as strike deadline looms. And so far, to my knowledge, I want to say I saw something in approximately, let me see here. I think about 8 or so of the possible 13 industries may have some type of deal in play, but then again, it's those stragglers that's making it tough in negotiations, which could be very problematic because all it takes is one no-go to ruin it all for everyone, and ultimately comes back to impact everybody else throughout the country. But real quick, let me zoom in here, and we'll touch on a couple things. But it says, business groups say a strike halting deliveries of raw materials and finished products that so many companies rely on would be, quote, an economic disaster. No kidding. And who would benefit most from an economic disaster other than the globalists and their agenda to make sure that they destabilize things at all fronts? So not only do we have the whole freight shipping issues, was it a year and a half ago, that still might be going on now. Haven't heard anything about that as far as the cargo ships being able to unload and things like that at the port. So let me know how that's playing out because I haven't heard nothing about that. But real quick thumb through this. It says freight railroads and their unions are facing increasing pressure from business groups and White House to settle their contract dispute before Friday's looming strike deadline. The pressure stems from concerns that halting railroad deliveries of raw materials and finished products that so many companies rely on will be, in the words of the head of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, an economic disaster. And so here we got just some interesting. It says Suzanne Clark, the head of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, said Monday that, quote, a national rail strike would be an economic disaster, freezing the flow of goods, emptying shelves, shuttering workplaces, and raising prices for families and business alike. So we got freezing the flow of goods, empty shelves, shuttering workplaces, unemployment, and higher prices for the goods that we need. So those four categories there is what's happening all around the world. So in no way is this whole reunion situation just a one and done, a fluke, a coincidence in of itself, just because we've heard these type of talks before when it comes to other issues, as I mentioned before, dealing with the supply chain and the whole bottleneck side of things that we've been talking about forever. But wow, it's just it's clear and obvious that there's forces at, much higher up that's putting pressure on these manufacturing companies, or the railroad companies, to make it very complicated. And what appears like they're doing, they're demanding a lot more than what they're paying for when it comes to the wages, as well as the economic, overall conditions in the factories or whatnot, and as well as on the rails, to where they're deliberately squeezing their own employees, trying to get the most up out of them without actually compensating them appropriately. And so it's a no-brainer that they're choosing to attempt to strike. But just a couple more details here. Let me put this back on the screen here. And so it says the chamber joined a number of other business groups, including a coalition of 31 agriculture, shipping, trade groups, in sending letters to Congress urging lawmakers to prepare to step in and block a strike if the two sides can't reach an agreement by the end of the week. So once again, I'm not quite sure how the government, who's ultimately in some capacity behind these issues that we're having, can actually step in and block a strike, because ultimately, if the conditions aren't met on the employee or on the worker side, they can easily just walk off the job. And not quite sure how they could block that, but we'll find out. And so it says the chamber said if it comes to that, Congress should impose the terms recommended by President of the Emergency Board that Biden appointed this summer. It says Association of American Railroads Trade Group put on a report last week that estimated that shutting down the railroads would cost the economy $2 billion a day. $2 billion a day. That's enough to definitely cause an economic shock, to say the least. It says the coalition of negotiating on behalf of the nation's biggest freight railroads, including Union Pacific, CSX, Norfolk Southern, BNFS, and Kansas City Southern, has announced 8 of the 13 tentative agreements needed to avert a strike by some 115,000 rail workers. So just to show you how important and how massive these rails are, actually looked up each and every one of these 5 companies here, just to give you an idea as to the territory which they cover. And so with the very first one here, Union Pacific, if I'm not mistaken, this is the Kansas City. This is the Kansas City route here, which goes from the north all the way down towards Mexico. And then we have the BNSF, which we can see is pretty much scattered all throughout the West Coast. And so here's the freight lines all the way to the West Coast. Then we have Norfolk Southern, which is for the most part the East Coast, as we can see here. And then we have CSX, which is also on the eastern side of things. And then lastly, we have what I believe is not sure which one of this, but as we can see, heading towards the west. So those are the 5 railroads that was just mentioned here in that article here. So where does this leave us? Is anybody surprised one bit that we're having an issue with those 4 factors I just mentioned that could threaten our global, or not our global, but our local economy here, on top of all the issues we're facing? And I'm assuming everybody has to be able to see how none of this is coincidental. It's all intentional. Now, the forces at play, we can all assume who they might be. But, of course, the goal is ultimately to squeeze the American population, just like the situation with Europe. And then also we had Yellen coming out, I think it was last Friday during one of her press conferences, where she mentioned that this upcoming winter, we could experience, higher gas prices similar to what's happening in Europe. And so it's like, damn, like, how much more can they warn us as to what's underway and what's coming? So this is just some things in the headlines here, man. And definitely we're going to talk about this more. But before I move forward, I have to make sure I do some maintenance on my side, because what better way to take advantage of these opportunities that will eventually unfold other than to be prepared and taking advantage of everything you can now while you still have time. And so stick around for a minute. Let me share this information with you guys. For those who might be new, definitely be a great opportunity to take advantage of these opportunities. Here's a great opportunity for you to get your weight up. Let's face it, our purchasing power and our currency has been destroyed in real time. That's why I'm excited to tell you about my partnership with Bullion Max. Bullion Max will ship gold and silver directly to your door for you to hold at your home or in your own safe. To help you get started, I worked out a special offer with them. Get Bullion Max Silver Starter Kit at employee pricing. Just go to bullionmax.com/RTD. This kit includes 5 of the most desirable silver products to invest in, including the American Silver Eagle and the Silver Australian Kangaroo. This offer is limited to 1 per household while supplies last, so get yours today and take advantage of this opportunity to get your weight up. Now, you can't just stop at getting your weight up. You also got to get your calories up, because definitely a food shortage is underway between droughts, flooding, and all the climate issues being thrown our way. America's food supply is near its breaking point. That's why survival food is more important than ever. Create your own stockpile of the best-selling 4 Patriot survival food kits. It's not ordinary food. We're talking about 25-year super survival food, hand-packed right in the family-owned facility in the USA. The kits are compact, sturdy, water-resistant. They have different delicious breakfasts, lunches, and dinners. Go to 4patriots.com/RTD to get your 3-month survival kit. You'll get their famous guarantee for an entire year after your order, plus 10 free gifts and free shipping. To take advantage of this opportunity, go to 4patriots.com/RTD to build your own stockpile today, because beyond the weight, you're going to need your calories as well. Links in the description. All right, let's keep it moving right along. So definitely want to get your thoughts on that, but let me keep them going. I got a couple more articles here. Then I'll open up the phone lines, and definitely love to hear from you guys. But I'm assuming everybody in this special in alternative media space, you couldn't help but notice the green candles today when it came to gold and silver. And I had a great chance to have an interview earlier, so definitely looking forward to sharing that with you guys. But here we got gold jumps as dollar slips. Focus shifts to the U.S. inflation data. And of course, the forecast is 8.1%, so we'll see what that's talking about. But I shared earlier, just because I wasn't paying attention, I actually don't pay attention to the metals price often, but I couldn't help but share my optimism when I saw that that upward trajectory this morning when we reached 1990, and then I think it corrected down from that. So definitely interesting to see just some green candles. It just makes me very suspicious as to what's going on, just because overall, we're still being lied to on all fronts. Economic conditions are no better than they were a week or two ago when we was down there near 1780 for silver. So behind the scenes, some things are breaking. And of course, on Friday, when me and Mario was talking, and he was talking about how Rafi has uncovered some details about how basically the COMEX or Crimex is being drained of actual metals right now due to arbitrage operations out east, things of that nature. So we'll see, but definitely some things that's happening behind the scenes. It's definitely catching people's attention because more people are trying to get physical like never before. All right, let's keep it moving. Let me get here a couple more stories here. Here's something also that actually let me just I'll go to this one first. Let me just give you some other news because I think this plays hand in hand. But this is a week old, but I just came across got my attention. But the average credit card rate, the highest since 1996. So not only is the Fed hiking, forcing all borrowing costs across the board to trend upward, and they're talking about giving away free mortgages or whatever that was we talked about for minorities or whatever. But then on the home front, more people are being squeezed with higher borrowing costs. And just some of these figures is just, astounding to me. But it says the average credit card rate has reached its highest point in decades. It says bankrates.com survey found that the average credit card rate hit a record 17.96. And right now they're talking about, we had 2.5, 2.25, 2 and 3/4 of the Fed funds rate. But yet these credit card companies charges 17.96. That's straight up, man, that's usury to the T. That is, whew. The rate is up to 3.5% from roughly a month ago and up 10.8% from a rate of 16.2 a year ago. And definitely not going down no time soon. But on another note, reason I want to mention that one first is because here is something else in relation to credit card companies working with ultimately the governments to track and trace the purchases of guns and ammo. And so it says a new way to track suspect credit card sales of guns and ammo. And look at how they use the word suspect. So if you buy something that's categorized in this new category they're creating, it can be labeled suspect. So when I saw this, first thing came to mind was not only will they be looking to track, the purchase of protection, but then also precious metals at some point. And so they're able to do it already, but they may end up creating a special category for it just so they can strategically be able to follow and track even more down to the actual bullion dealer so that they can put pressure on them to start reporting on what people are actually buying on the retail side. So the just more squeezing and clamping down on people's options and ways of checking out the system. But anyway, real quick, says credit card industry representatives have cleared the way for new means of tracking firearm and ammunition purchases, a move that supporters say will help flag suspicious sales and reduce gun crime. So I'm not quite sure, suspicious sales, if you have a credit card and you go and purchase, you still have to go through the background check and everything like that. So all your information should be up front and then passed on to law officials to do the actual checking of who's purchasing. So, incorporating the whole credit card side of things is just that extra over the top Orwellian type of approach to basically track and trace everything we do through the legacy system. But real quick here, it says ISO, which sets rules for across the financial services industry, agreed to create a new merchant category code for gun and ammunition retailers at a meeting this week and announced the decision on Friday. The decision came amid mounting pressure on credit card companies by Democrats in Congress who urge code creation. So there's going to be a special code that will be utilized between retailers and their customers to basically just label and categorize what you're actually buying and expect all types of other codes to follow suit like I just mentioned. And then on another note here, last one here, then open the phone lines. Here is something worthwhile. It says mortgage rates just hit a new or a high not seen since 2008 housing crash. And so, yeah, it's just interesting how this alleged tightening to fight inflation, at the same time, inflation is built into the system. It is still underway and is ultimately tightening borrowing costs for the consumers. And we are a consumer-driven economy, so something will give sooner than later. So, anyway, a couple more articles here, but I'll spare you guys that. Let's open the phone lines. Curious to hear what's on your radar. Lots of subjects worth touching on. Share with me your thoughts on the railroad situation as well as anything else, because ultimately, what that boils down to is, if that strike takes place, no merchandise moves across the country, and deliberately, which will then put more pressure on all the logistical lines, as well as our just-in-time system, grocery stores, and everything else that we've enjoyed to this point of having access to, will ultimately be cut off. So, but who is surprised, to say the least? So, once it's just more of a warning signs, warning you to make sure you try to get as much of what you need in preparation for the likelihood of not being able to get it when you go get it, when you need it. All right, let's keep moving. All right, so highlight at Rethinking a Dollar. And it'll stand out, and we can jump on that, and we can chime some light on what's going on. All right, let me see here. Gold and silver is all leaving the U.S. and U.K. No doubt. It's going to where it'll get a much more favorable bidding, because right now the East is they've overran their welcome to set the price on anything, especially in USD terms. And so it's time for the West, or the East rather, to begin the price setting mechanisms for metals. Hello, Carlos. Where are we calling from?
Especially in the U.S. Hi, Mike. It's Ed. How you doing?
Hey, doing good, my friend. What's on your mind?
Hey, all this shortage talk and all this and that, did you see how much money the oil companies have been making? There's a big oil shortage. We don't have enough. I think it was, one of them was over $1 trillion in profits.
Whoa,
overseas,
really?
They're talking about, overseas they're talking about, getting a windfall tax from these places. what happened to all this California stuff? Remember all the ships that couldn't get in? You just mentioned it, right?
Right.
Remember the 80,000 truck drivers that were independents that had to sign on to a company?
Mm-hmm.
You remember that?
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Tell me one thing you haven't been able to buy.
That's a great point there.
What if you went looking for it and couldn't find it? Tell me.
Me personally, nothing on my end, but I'd assume that certain items, especially stuff that's shipped from China, may not be there for some, but on average, what we need is usually there. Yeah, but then again, I wouldn't take it for granted though.
No, I'm not taking it for granted. It could happen.
Yeah.
But let's go back. The big China scare with COVID. They do 70-some% of our pharmaceuticals.
Mm-hmm.
I have not heard one person say I went to the pharmacy and could not get my meds.
Right.
Haven't heard one person say that. Haven't seen it on the news.
Right.
It's all a sham, Mike. Hey. Where else are they going to take the goods of the world and get more money than America?
Hey, man, I hope that is the case. And I do remember that because of the initial shutdown and the alleged supply issues and the over purchasing of a lot of manufactured goods to where the inventory was in backlog to where there was more sitting around than what was actually being sold. So there is there was an additional supply in reserves for a lot of these companies, especially now that we're heading into the holiday season. I'm assuming they probably taken into account previous shipping issues to where they probably jumped ahead and ordered more than necessary. So we probably have enough for this particular season, but it's not necessarily this fall, but it's more likely the next year if this stuff plays out, that could be a problem down the line. So, because mind you, this is a long-term plan of theirs.
Okay, well, the one big thing you haven't been able to get is new cars. And how does that fit in? Oh, let's see. They're gasoline used, huh? Oh. But somehow they seem to have electric cars.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
It's a scam, Mike. They're scamming us, brother.
Hey.
I looked up bananas. Right?
Yeah.
Most bananas are grown in India and Brazil. Ain't none grown in Florida. Ain't none grown in California. And they put them things on a boat and ship them to the U.S. and put them on a truck and bring them to Kroger's, and I can still buy them for 49 cents a pound.
Yeah, and that's definitely, that line of logistical movement is definitely there. So it's not until the trains don't move do we realize the importance of what's being shipped on that particular method. And of course, cars. I'm in the Motor City, so I see trains with cars left and right. But yet, then again, who can really afford cars like that anyway? Who's looking really to go buy cars like that anyway? So that's going to create a whole nother issue, man. But yeah, we will see, man. But I'll take it as a farce for now. But yeah, go ahead.
It's hard to get cars in Columbus. I have people that went up to Detroit to get a Jeep Cherokee, my son-in-law. So it's hard to get cars. Most of the car dealerships around here don't have new cars.
Yeah.
They have old cars.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, I think the whole thing is just to squeeze us, man. They're squeezing us to death. And I hope that there are no shortages, and there may be some food shortages. But as long as we got the money and we're willing to pay, I think they'll get it here. But anyway, keep doing what you're doing.
Appreciate you, man. Thanks for calling. Yeah, and that's where, in reference to the available supplies, it's definitely regional. Like I would say, because I see caller here mentioned, Alaska Prepper mentioned from what he was researched and whatnot, there's been some shortages. And I even saw an article, was it yesterday, about a situation, I think, in Philadelphia, where some Walmarts and things of that nature is having issues with, shelves not being fully stocked. So definitely there are some issues depending on what you're looking for. And I imagine a lot of the electrical products and stuff like that. I was just not long ago in a retail store and saw that, what many TVs and stuff like that it typically is. So definitely it's spotty, I'm sure. But definitely I wouldn't take none of this for granted because we know their agenda. Hello, caller. Where you calling from?
Yeah, Mike, Steve, Region 9.
Steve, what's going on, my friend?
Hey, I'm kind of worried about this railroad thing, given that this thing's supposed to be popping off Friday, correct? Right. Thursday or Friday?
Right, Friday, if the negotiations don't go through.
Yeah, given that Washington hasn't stepped in by now, as close as it is, that kind of lets me know that they might let this take place.
Right. And my suspicion and my first thought, not to be like doom and gloom, all that stuff like that, but just knowing what they want to accomplish with making more of Americans dependent upon them and stripping us of what we have with all the other stuff I'm talking about, it just seems fitting that something just falls through and they can't get it done, and then we find out what the consequences of that will be, not necessarily immediately, but next couple months for sure.
No doubt. I agree. Given that they let it creep this close to the line and they haven't stepped in, that's not a good sign.
Right.
That's kind of bad news at that point. Hey, anyway, too, I sent you a video there. I think it's Bo Pony and Julie Green.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you can drop that into the queue for the guys. Basically, Bo, he's talking about the Shemitah thing that's coming up on the 24th, 25th, or whatever there.
Yeah.
And then Julie Green, that's the one that kind of caught my attention, because I guess she was saying that technically Prince Charles is not king right now because they have to go through that little legal process that they do over there, which takes a while.
Right.
And she was saying that she doesn't believe that he's going to be in power at all, because I guess things are going to come out about the family, etc.
Yeah.
And she was saying that she doesn't think that he's going to take power at all.
Yeah.
She's saying that basically that their rule may be over,
which wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing. So that is just interesting how that will play out if that if that actually comes true. So that's
exactly
some interesting developments there. Hey man, but no, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
You go ahead.
No, I was going. Let's go ahead.
The other thing too is I also sent you another email there. U.S. presidents, all the U.S. presidents, with the exception of 2, had bloodlines to the royal family.
I've heard that before. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah. So I dropped that in there too for you. And the last thing before I go is the guy who called yesterday about the quarter, about the new quarter.
Yeah.
I wasn't even aware of that until he mentioned. I was going, let me look that up.
Right.
So I look it up, and I pull it up, and I pull out a magnifying glass and everything. Start going over the coin, front and back.
Yeah.
I'll deal with the back first.
Yeah.
If you there's 2 attachments there on that.
Yeah.
Well, anybody.
I got the face. I got the face side up now. Go ahead. I got the face side up now.
Okay. Let's do it the face side since you have it there.
Yeah.
Not only is the face turned a different way, but on the old quarters, if you notice, "In God We Trust" is what the guy was looking at. If that makes sense.
Turn his back on God.
On this coin, the face is turned the opposite way, and "In God We Trust" is on the back side, as if the person's turning their back on God.
Yeah. not accidental, to say the least. That's a good find, man. That's a good catch.
Exactly. And if you look at the guy's hair, look at his hair. Anything look unusual to you there?
Let me zoom back in real quick. Let me find it. I gotta zoom out some. Let me pop it back on the screen. Give me 1 second. What looks about his hair?
Anything looks strange?
It does look strange because I mean it's probably in a ponytail, but even like it looks very feminine, and I don't know. It's just I'm sure if you look deep, you can find something in the side part by his ear part that looks a little weird.
Exactly. Now here's the kicker. Now this is where I'm going down the rabbit hole on you, but if you zoom in pretty good, it looks. You know how you see those paintings? They can make these paintings or whatever where you can see 2 things.
Yeah.
At the same time.
Yeah.
Well, to me, this is one of those scenarios here. You see the face value of it. Okay, this guy with his hair looking kind of funky, blah blah blah. But then you zoom in by his ear, and you start seeing this thing curving around his ear. It looks like a body of a snake. If you sit there and look at it and zoom in real good, it looks like the body of a snake.
Yeah.
And then the head of the snake is the real light part. it's like it's looking at you. You can actually see like a little eye or something there. It's just a matter of seeing what you see.
Yeah, I'm trying to look. Yeah, and it's just the fact that
you can play with it. Play with it.
I
People
will.
can play with it later and check it out. But it looks like a snake. It looks like a snake, and then it happens to be sitting there at his ear.
Yeah. So yeah, I see like like his little sideburn part looks like a wolf's face. I mean, it looks like a snake's face or some type of face. And so, but regardless, clearly they deliberately did some things in that area. Like that's too much extra work right there by his ear for it not to be something.
Exactly.
Why not just make it all straight back,
Exactly.
eliminate it, show his ear or cover his ear? But they deliberately did some twisting and turning there. And of course they know what they made there, but we got to always speculate on what we see. But hey, man, I appreciate you bringing it to my attention, man.
Now go to the other one where you see the backside real quick, and then I'll get off the phone and let everybody.
All right,
everybody
I see.
Take a look at it. Take a look at it yourself at some point.
Oh my goodness, that's the astronaut.
Exactly. Yeah, the astronaut. Okay, now I'm going to go straight to what drew my attention right away.
Uh-huh.
There's a pentagram on her jacket, the right side of her jacket, encircled.
Yeah.
That's a pentagram. If people don't know, that shape is a pentagram.
Man.
And if you zoom in close, here's the kicker, Mike. If you zoom in close, you'll see an upside down cross at the bottom of that.
Hold on, I gotta refresh this because I zoomed in too much. It timed me out. Hold on 1 second. I gotta see that one. Let me try to zoom in again. Give me a second here. Gotta zoom out and zoom back in. Yeah, those are some fine details that I personally wouldn't have even went.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have went down a rabbit hole. But let me see what I can see here. So here we go. I got it zoomed in on her chest, and let me see. I see NASA, Sally. Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see the upside down cross. Wow.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that shape itself is a pentagram. The shape itself is a pentagram, and it has the circle around it. Now we know that that's satanic.
Man. Okay.
These are things that I just noticed. They jumped off the page to me when I first looked at it. When I started looking at it, so I'm glad somebody called in about the coin because I didn't know about it.
Hey, appreciate it. Go ahead.
Hey, and then the last thing before I get off of here is back on the front side again. You don't have to pull this one up, but on the front side of it, the head is larger than the other quarters.
Mm-hmm.
But what it does is the head is actually infringing. The head is actually infringing on the word liberty. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
I see it.
Yeah.
Subtle details, man, make a world of a difference. Because definitely they have an agenda with that.
Correct.
They have an agenda with that.
Correct. None of that was done by accident.
Right.
And did Steve or Mike have control over what they put on those coins or on the dollars and all the rest of that? These people are sick, man.
Right. Hey, man.
Anyway,
appreciate you, man.
Everybody else, take a peek at those and see what you guys come up with. But that snake over the ear thing,
yeah, that's good stuff. Ooh. And also, appreciate you, man.
All right, take care.
Be good. Yeah, that's just definitely some fine artwork that's done intentional, just for sure. I guess entertainment's sake. There's nothing we can do about it. If actually I'm not sure if these boys are actually out in circulation yet, but yet I'm assuming whatever metals they're using is definitely probably nickel copper. They're probably using less copper, so they've substituted some things due to the increased cost in copper and things of that nature. So it might be made out of some completely different, but yeah. So phone lines are open. Give me a call. Curious to hear your thoughts on this. Speaking of which, from our chat last night about the little pyramid of power that I showed, just the hierarchy of the powers that be, came across something else today that just shines more light, I think, on the details of the system itself. And so this entire graphic here, it's called the Cult of Baal, and it's like a historical timeline or guideline from basically the beginning of age, according, of course, using biblical references here, all the way up into the current system we're in now. We're at Novus. I got to zoom out some here so I can give you more detail. But Novus Ordo Seclorum, Latin for New World Order, is at the very bottom of this. But as you go through here and read some of the details, you got the Great Flood, you got the epic of all the historical stuff here. It's very detailed. But now you see some of the key players here: Pharaohs of Egypt, kings of Babylon, Roman Empire, the Judea, Second Temple period. We got the Knights Templar, we got Khazar, we got Masonry, we got the Jesuits, we got the Illuminati group, and of course in between there you got Rothschild family and United Kingdom. And so all these interesting details here. If you zoom in even further, you can get more out of this. But this is definitely something worth checking out if you guys are interested. So just type in the Cult of Baal image, and you'll be able to see this for yourself and dive deeper into it if you're interested. But a lot of interesting historical references there, and a lot of terminologies that I wasn't familiar with to just give me more stuff to look into. So if you guys are interested, it's out there for you. All right, what else we got here? I've heard that over and over again. I think America worshipped the power. Laughable, lame, human idols. Almost a defeated and lame as Satan. God bless America. Yeah, God bless the human race in general, because it's about to get real. DuBois says zinc. S4 says, what's interesting about Christianity is they associate snakes with evil, but in Hinduism is viewed as the opposite. Yeah, and that's where, every organized religion has their own distinctions of characters, figures, times, mission statements, objectives, you name it. And so that's something that we'll could talk about more as well. Over here it says, what are your expectations on CPI tomorrow? I think I just saw, looking at something a moment ago with some figures, and estimates are, let me just jump in real quick right here. Estimates as of here, it says 8.1 is what we're looking at according to what's anticipated. So it's definitely going to go down a couple hairs. But then again, that number we know is not anywhere near close what we actually pay for certain items that's included in that very same basket that they get those numbers from. So it only helps them in their narrative of this tightening is obviously working, because it's causing the CPI figures to cool off some. So take of it what you may. I heard the Black Twitter blast the Queen. It says, Tony B says, heard Black Twitter blast the Queen. Black Twitter? What is that about? TB, let me know what that's about. I'm not sure. I didn't hear nothing about that one. Or I don't know who Black Twitter is. After midterm, gas goes up. No doubt. After midterm, and it's going to be some fraudulent. It's going to be shaky. Man, we're about to see. Oh my God, we're about to see so much criminality this next midterm, and this might be the last official, quote unquote, midterm / election process we have for this country. Just because my suspicion is that after this fraudulent activity takes place, mind you, we're still heading in the same direction. Even if the Republicans get in, they'll probably slow things down. But then again, if there was to be some type of slowing down of this transition, there'll be more false flags on the other end by the globalists to try to really derail things. If there's any positive people in the Republican side, or any people that's not all the way straight liberal as far as their viewpoints and agendas with the World Economic Forum and the Democratic side, if anyone comes into opposition with what they're trying to accomplish, that'll just trigger more false flag events that would only lead them to go to their next agenda and their next plan. You know what I'm saying? So at this current moment, we're still trending towards their long-term objective of owning nothing. And of course, you won't be no way of not being unhappy with that or happy with that. So, yeah. So even Christianity is mythology. Yeah. Rolf, that could be 100% true. And it's, that's a faith-based statement there, so it could be. You never know until your spirit leaves your body. Then we're going to find out what's real and what's not. That's a good part of freedom of choice, having free will. There's more than enough options to suit whatever it is we're looking for, whatever it is our ears are itching for. So that's one of the bonuses of the faith concept. You think Judaism is a mythology? Is that a question to me, Rolf? From a historical standpoint, based upon the events that took place, I have no reason to believe that they did not take place in reference to the genealogies that was given to us from the Bible, as well as all the events that took place. So I have no reason to, I personally don't doubt it. Some people can. I'm sure you can probably pull out, a couple other documents that are relatively old and prove a good case and argument. If that's, people argue all the time about historical events and things of that nature. That's just not for me. So I stay away from stuff like that. No harm, no foul, though. I'm all good with having free-flowing thoughts on that subject matter, but I don't stray on things that could steer me from my current faith foundation. That says, when you mention the pentagram, you get into the dark side. Yeah. And that was apparently the image that was on that back of the new quarter. And so just as I mentioned, for reference sake, definitely check out that cult of Baal graphic here. Just, Google it, DuckDuckGo it. It should pop up, and just go through there and get a little bit of a glimpse at historical events, which I believe are true in a sense. All right, well, we got 40 minutes. Let me get this last call, then we're going to get ready to dial back. Let me get this call here. Hello, caller. Where are you calling from?
Hey, how you doing, Mike? This is Brian calling from Connecticut.
Brian, what's going on, my friend? How you doing?
Oh, nah, just hanging back, looking at the show. Good, been a long time viewer, may I say. I just came in with with a question about the housing market.
Yeah, go ahead.
My question is this: I know the housing market, been on fire since the pandemic started, up to about up to now. And my whole thing is what is your viewpoint as far as seeing the housing, I guess economy collapse or housing market collapse?
Yeah. What's my viewpoint on that in relation to the housing market?
Do you think do you think it will collapse, or do you think it's just something that will just slow down just a little bit?
Okay. So I do believe that due to the monetary policy and fiscal policy that has been in place for several decades now, we've reached a tipping point to where it's hard to continue to inflate the monetary system, through the debt market, with the government being 30 trillion plus and 200 something liabilities. And then us also having been transitioned to a consumer economy where we were sold the idea that, having a house is a part of the American dream and the luxuries that come with that, 2 cars, 3 houses, 480, all that stuff like that. It comes at a cost. And the only way we're able to even acquire those things is because we have the reserve currency. And so based upon what's happening out east, that's all shifting just because people are no longer dependent and even supporting our spending habits. So just based on those two things there, something has to give. Now, how it gives, the timing of it, don't know. But if everything has been artificially stimulated for decades and we have no more suckers on the other end taking that bet, then something has to pop, i.e. the debt bubble. So I do think that we are well beyond the point of needing some type of correction because things are extremely overpriced and basically unaffordable, depending on what you're looking at for a lot of people. And so people don't make nowhere near as much money to, in relation to their bring home income in relation to the mortgage payments, then that's a problem. So I think there's definitely some adjusting that needs to take place, which could be healthy, depending on how it plays out.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because I was also thinking something I was just debating with some friends. I was thinking what if it just stagnates where the people who are homeowners will stay homeowners, and the people who just haven't got that shot or chance to get in the market or purchase a home, it's just gonna stay like what it is, for like eternity. I know it sounds kind of like far fetched, but
yeah,
they just feel like it's either you have it or you don't. The have and have nots.
Right, and I think even with that, the objective in the long run is that no one will own anything. The goal is to make us completely subservient to the state, and this public partnership is taking us towards this one world governing style that they have planned for our future. And so I would imagine that between property taxes, which have to go up, and all the other mechanisms to do with owning something nowadays, it's going to be challenged to where I'd assume they want to have a right to your house and your car and everything else, and you have to ask permission to use it. That's why they have these smart cities they're going to start developing, if they haven't already, where they're going to try to put people in these smart cities where you literally, it's a surveillance state where everything you do is you have to have permission to do it. CBDCs, that are the whole little, what basically China now, but magnified by 10 in a very not so fun and friendly way.
Yeah, I could see that. I could definitely see that. And that was another point I was thinking about in my head too. I was like, maybe the whole objective was also to squeeze folks out their property by raising taxes. Right. And I owned a property right before the pandemic even happened. And after my selling my property, because I went through a divorce, I was then considering to buy another property in 2021, but the market was so hot that I had to take a step back. And then now, I always had that question in my head, like, hold up, as everybody is overbidding and overpaying for houses, right? How do they equivalate to the taxes?
Taxes. Taxes. I mean, right now, because we are relatively in calm waters in relation to what's going on everywhere else, we haven't seen nowhere near the type of taxes they're going to throw our way in the future to try to cover some of this debt. Or when they reboot the system and whatever they try to roll out our way, they're going to factor in the taxes on top of that. So like retirement accounts, Roth IRAs, come on now. Like, you don't think taxes are going to be a lot higher in the future than they will be now? So my thing is it's going to be very uncertain because we've never been into an environment like we're probably heading into because of the amount of debt and all the things that's happening globally on top of the great reset that they have planned as well. So it's going to be a complete crap show, man. But appreciate your call, man. Definitely good luck with everything. Keep us posted on what you're doing, my friend. Definitely, we'd love to learn from real world experiences of what you're trying to pull off, man. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
Be good. Yeah.
All right. Take care.
All right, man. Good stuff. Yeah, it's just taxes will be used against us. It's no way out of it. And that's where just their mission statement of you'll own nothing. You got to ask yourself, what all does that encompass? Like, how can they be so confident and bold to say that you'll own nothing? They literally have probably tried to cover every area that has something to do with ownership that they're going to somehow, some way try to rewrite the rules to, even down to the actual legislative side of things moving forward. Because believe me, they're going to try to dismantle the Constitution, Bill of Rights, everything else in between. That's just a part of the globalist takeover if they have their way. That's just a long if, to say the least. But so I saw a lot of good thoughts out here. Let me get back to it. I saw a little talk about spirituality. It's always a good thing. And once again, it's all subject to the person themselves. We are all learning in real time. Let me see here. How high? All right, let me get some call. I said I'm going to take my last call a minute ago. Hello, caller. Where are you calling from?
Yeah. What's up?
How you doing, my friend?
Good. How are you?
Doing excellent. What's on your mind?
So I just wanted to ask, because you seem sort of an expert in this. I've watched a few of your videos, but in terms of like, if you think this collapse could be engineered, and then if the solution to that collapse could be crypto, and they because they've marketed it for so long as this decentralized, trust machine. And so if we lose trust, they sort of have to move us into something else, but it probably can't be their own thing, because if we're just going to be like, we don't trust that. So it's almost like these decentralized protocols like Ethereum, for example, have been set up almost to be like, well, this is the solution. And because it's been marketed for so long as this decentralized thing, people sort of like, it's almost like, oh, we won, we did it. Like, we finally are free, almost like this, this feeling that everyone's going to get. And me being one of those people, to be honest, like, I'm an Ethereum investor.
Yeah.
But, I just kind of had this realization the other day, and I've heard you talk about it as well before. And I'm sort of starting to wonder, is that actually the plan? And it's kind of funny to me as well that, like, they're going through this proof of stake thing in a couple days where they're reducing the energy so that the governments can probably be like, well, it's 99.9% less energy now. And so it's just kind of like, I was just having all these thoughts of that type of thing. So I was wondering if that's something you've talked about before, I think.
So no. Thanks for the question. And on top of that, I don't really consider myself an expert. I'm just a man with an opinion, and I like to just criticize and, critique everything with my own perspective behind it. So, but I appreciate that. But as far as this current environment we're in now, man, I think everything is done intentional. And so I like to go back to what I got on the screen here, the Economist cover from 1988, basically telling us to get ready for a world currency and the burning pile of currencies that they show, basically, which I'd assume we're witnessing that now in some capacity, and the fact that they already had an idea as to what they wanted to issue the world, and it was a world currency. Now, how it plays out, who knows? But how convenient can it be that the whole blockchain, Bitcoin, Ethereum stuff is, stealing everybody's attention, and people have basically shunned gold and silver just because it doesn't move at the sound of light. You can't transport it in 0.1 second of a time and all that crap. You know what I'm saying? We're being set up intentionally. And I think cryptocurrency has been a great time filler and distraction for the world to also condition us to accepting computer code as a way of transacting our financial futures, and and eventually at some point including our lives within their metaverse concept. And so none of this is by accident, and I think it's intentional. And as far as Ethereum, I've done a video before saying that Jamie Dimon, the whole Ethereum alliance is all the banks and too big to fail companies, both basically, that are the biggest bag holders. So they stand to benefit the most by moving from proof of work to proof of stake, so they can have more of a say-so, because they'll have the most coins. And then, of course, when that happens, then proof of work become a problem. They're going to use climate as an excuse. They're going to start shutting down miners here in the U.S. All the miners going to flee. Price going to drop. And then Russia and China, they're not going to be much more friendlier to proof of work concepts either at some point. So they're going to shut down stuff. And so it's not going to be a viable method of storing your wealth the way people or Sailor want to sell it to people. But I think it's all intentional. They want to try to lure people that way so you won't go backwards towards gold and silver as a way to preserve yourself. So technology is beneficial, but in the hands of evil men, it will be used against us, in my opinion. That's what I think the majority of the cryptos will be used as, in my opinion.
Right. Yeah. And I hope that's, not the case.
I hope so as well.
I just started to see it, and it's funny that the Ethereum symbol is also sort of the Illuminati pyramid or whatever as well. I've always kind of seen that as well, but I'm actually someone that does both. So just for some hope, I'm a huge silver guy. So I'm, and I try to promote it too. So I'm sort of like cross promoting, like, a little bit where I'm trying to get the crypto people, to sort of see how undervalued silver is.
Right.
And, I talk about it a lot. So,
right. Very true.
So, hopefully people start to wake up a little bit more to what's going on.
Well, they have no choice to wake up. Either wake up now or be jolted awake when stuff hits the fan. So, but hey, man, appreciate you calling.
Exactly.
Thanks for your, thanks for the question, my friend. Appreciate you.
Yep.
All right. Hello, caller. What's the name? Where you calling from? Oh, looks like I lost you. All right. It is 54 minutes. Appreciate everybody for hanging out with me. As always, it's good to hear different thoughts and opinions and viewpoints out there. Will the U.S. economy crash? At some point. I believe it will happen at some point. It's just a matter of time. But yeah, in the meantime, it gives us time to do the best we can and enjoy these moments before it does. Because if it does crash, you better believe what they have on the other end of this is not something that's going to be fun and enjoyable in its entirety. But there will come a lot of opportunity. Hung up. TB. All right. Well, anyway, people, as always, appreciate you guys hanging out. Let's pick up tomorrow, same time, same place. If you've enjoyed this, hit that thumbs up button. And if you don't mind, invite a friend. Get more people plugged in so they can have a chance to let their voice be heard, as well as hear an alternative spin onto the mainstream lies that's being given to us. So, and if you haven't already, make sure you join the Telegram, and so you can plug in there, and also rtd.locals.com, because when the censorship continues to ramp up, eventually we won't be on YouTube. So just preparing for that day ahead of time. But anyway, be blessed, be safe, enjoy the rest of your evening or morning, depending on where you're at, and we'll be back at it tomorrow. Peace.